Hello every folks, good morning or afternoon or wherever it may happen to be in your neck of the woods, and welcome to a deep dive into what we know so far about Ogre Battle, well, not Ogre Battle, but Tactics Ogre Reborn, which is very not keen on adding the Ogre Battle part of the title by this point. Anyway, so, yeah, there have been a lot of little things that have come out. Actually, yesterday I had started on a bit of a deep dive on this, and yeah, very quickly it got scrapped because there's so much more information that came out, like little by little. And by the way, before we even get started, am I the only one who has like regularly gone over to the Switch store and just like pulled up the little preview things just to kind of see what it would look like on the Switch when November finally hits? Because it's been a weirdly happy experience there, and I have to say, it actually does hold up pretty darn well on the wide Game Boy. So, you know, we'll see how that all ends up going. I mean, ultimately, I was originally going to go for the PS4 version, but you know, Mr. Stones made a good point there. Just you know, the PC version will go up on sale at some point. It's PC; it always ends up going on sale, and quite frankly, like I know I'm not the only one that grew up. You know, grew up with endless hours in the middle of the night, just, you know, staying up to ungodly hours playing Night of Lotus on my GBA and all that kind of thing. Like, the Game Boy SP is probably responsible for the long-term eye damage of so many people it's not even funny, but it's worth it. Anyway, so yeah, let's get into it here. So there have been two new kind of things that have dropped, aside from the original trailer there. That thankfully actually did break down a lot of the stuff that was in that trailer, which is fairly interesting. So let's go ahead and get started here. Now, these two sources, I'll go ahead and link them in the video, but one of them is actually from Square Enix's shop themselves. The other one is from Yasumi Matsuno's Twitter, oddly enough. That one came out today. But we're going to start off with the Square stuff here. So we got more detailed looks at the shop and all that kind of thing, and yes, it does look like the sprites are still a bit smudgy. Look, truth be told, I don't think it's when I look at it on the Switch, it doesn't seem as noticeable as it does when you blow it up on a computer here, which I'm assuming might have been part of it. It's just I don't really get why they didn't just completely redraw them, but either way, that's a dead horse that's been beaten to death multiple times by this point. Somebody really needs to put away the retissue, but at some point, hopefully they'll patch in a better version of the sprites or something. I don't know. It's possible. I've heard it's happened with other, you know, other remakes that they've done. So anyway, so we partially covered this last time, but yeah, battle parties. It does look like you can have multiple set battle parties up here at the top here. I have heard one theory that maybe they added like kind of multifaceted battles like Night of Lotus. It seems unlikely, though. I'll be honest, that would be one hell of a wet dream for that to happen. But we do have a lot more information here as well. For one, you can actually set the AI from this menu this time around. That was actually a little bit of a gripe I had with the original one, pretty much exclusively when doing the AI only run, but yeah, before that, the AI, you either set it in the multiplayer menu or you set it in battle, which meant that the first unit to act did not get to use their AI, or just lost their turn entirely. It was kind of funky. Anyway, so that seems to have been fixed there. There's also a little eyeglass icon, which might indicate that we might have a map preview kind of situation going on. Unclear what's going on there. Additionally, it looks like there's an icon underneath the AI that shows the current map except zoomed out. So I'm not sure if that's going to be like, here's your deployment area kind of thing, like it shows you where you drop on the map. That, again, was something that I had a bit of a gripe about with the remake originally, because TO Classic, you would usually show up pretty much exactly where you'd expect. Like with the castle maps, you usually just wind up like smack dab in the middle of their front gate. Whereas, like, let's say with the Barbas fight, in Classic, you wound up, you know, just kind of down by the walkway, whereas in Remake, you wound up way closer to him, but behind two walls. Which, yes, did lead to some interesting choke points and basically made that fight an absolute freebie under most circumstances, but it just was kind of awkward, you know? It's like, it's one of the, like, basically everything about the remake, to be absolutely clear, was designed with long-term fans in mind. So, like, anybody that initially dropped out didn't get to see a lot of the crazy amount of detail that was going on there. So if anybody came back to the game wondering, like, wow, how did I miss all this stuff? That's because it was, like, way behind the curtain. So, anyway, we're getting into the weeds again. So, next up, it seems like they just have the usual full party screen, objectives. See, the little objectives thing over here is what makes this little scout icon different, because this is where objectives used to be. And additionally, it has little cross swords here, which I'm not sure what that's about either, because maybe it's telling you something about the leader or something. I don't know, but either way, a lot more information on this screen. Also, the option to sort by race for some reason. Which, okay, I say for some reason, but I think Recruit, I've heard I've heard rumors to this, and I've been saying since the first video, it is possible that Recruit is just, it's basically back to classic rules or Knight of Lotus rules. Considering we've seen other characters with it, I'm going to assume Knight of Lotus rules on this one, which is basically that anybody can recruit, and they can recruit anything, but the odds are just way lower, which, from a balance perspective, it's fine. It's kind of odd because in Remake they had balanced it with kind of like its in-fight use as a balancing mechanic. So it became fairly expensive to use, but you also could scale it up a bunch of ways. So basically, Recruit by itself ranked up, and Anatomy ranked up. Not to mention, if you used Bewitch on somebody multiple times, they would basically become brainwashed into liking you. So there was all kinds of those like little nitty-gritty details. Oh, also another funny thing, if somebody was charmed, bewitched, or silenced currently when you tried talking to them, you always had a 0% chance of success, because you can't talk to somebody that's not in their right mind. It's, again, I love the remake for all these little details, and I hope that continues. But yeah, given that they give you the option to sort by race here, given the like bigger kind of racial profile of parties we've seen in these previews, it does appear to be the case that pretty much anybody can recruit anything, presumably. But anyway, moving on. Right, so items auto-restocked over here. That seems to... what on earth? Sorry, the Roomba apparently is upstairs and has managed to get itself caught on something, so it sounds like a thunderstorm up there. Alright, so yeah, items auto-restocking. It's... Now, I'm not sure if this means that when you have party members, they will refill their item slots, or you're just passing through town and it automatically restocks whatever you tell it to keep in stock. I mean, it's probably going to be both of those things, and I love that, because that's basically essentially a more complicated version of the Fell Seal system, which is my favorite item system in this entire genre, so either way. You know, fantastic. I love when, you know, the item stocks are nice and automatic and they make sense, but I also like the fact that you can end up getting them other ways that you can do in TO, so hopefully that's exactly what that is. Also, we've more or less confirmed at this point, based on the number of different screenshots, that Union level seems to be your level cap. I'm going to assume this is tied to story events, because we'll see in screenshots later, but there are situations where characters have maxed out XP bars that match up with the Union level, so that does seem to be confirmed more or less for level cap. Another thing, so this screenshot actually had a bit more to it in the trailer. Heaven Judge 2 at level 24 by a witch, who, now I could be mistaken on that, and I can actually double check right here. Ignore the music going funky here for a sec. Oh, that's interesting. I never realized that apparently Tactics Ogre's music will actually continue playing even if a Vita turns off. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and go to the magic real quick here and double check whether or not we actually can learn Heaven Judge as a way. I don't think you could learn that as a witch before. Which, by the way, one of these other screenshots also confirmed there's an Ease 2. So yeah, no, witches couldn't learn Heaven Judge before. That was a Lord, Astromancer, and Princess exclusive. So yeah, so that's new. So apparently they can do that again, which is actually something they could do in SNES Classic. So again, goes back to that same theme that we're seeing, that it's just basically a mix of all of them. So that's nice. All right, we'll put on some Harvest Dance. I think that's... Or actually, no, we'll go back to the Viking Spirits here. All right, let's just put this back over this general direction and move on here. All right, so also we see a little bit clearer here that You see how there's that little, like, squiggle and a little boost mark there? So it seems like these are buffs. These seem to be field buffs. I've been using that term. It seems like others have been using it lately, too. I have a feeling I've heard it before somewhere. Maybe I don't know. But anyway, point being, it seems like there's going to be cards that you pick up for buffs, and then cards you pick up for stacks, because you can actually see a tarot card in one of these things here. Like this one seems to be an MP buff, but I don't know if this means like it restores MP, like it's just restoring particular things, or it's giving you buffs to particular stats. I'm not entirely sure. Also, it would be nice to see if this line actually... this line seems to be coming at about the same point in the fight where it's completely worthless. I was joking before that... I mean, you could make an SNL skit or whatever out of this particular scene of just like Canopus sitting there during World War I, just staring at a Gatling gun, like, boy, it sure is a shame about all those dead people behind me. Wish somebody would do something about this machine gun. It's just his whole logic of like, yeah, we should go all the way across the map to go deal with those archers instead of dealing with a wizard that's right, like, over here. Also, I think there might potentially be more frames to the animation. This seems like maybe this witch here is taking a little bit of an extra step. Could be wrong on that, but that seems slightly different, and I'm not sure why. Additionally, I've seen folks comparing these to the FFT War of the Lions like mobile version sprites. It's not the same situation. They did fully redraw those. The reason they redid that for FFT was because they changed it to a fully 3D type situation. Like, you could manually rotate the camera wherever you wanted it, which looked jank as hell, by the way, before anyone's wondering why they didn't do that for TO. It looked pretty shitty, but you could, fully 3D move the map. Honestly, the original system, which you can just toggle it to the original system, works a lot better. Anyway, so yeah, they look very different. These are just mostly upscaled. There are some cases that they look better, some cases they look worse. I'm hoping that it's just something that they're trying to nail in the background still, because several of the listings do mention that this is kind of like a work in progress kind of thing, and that there are some details that they're trying to fix. So there's that. Alright, now we get into the more juicy details, because there's a lot here. So for one thing, finishers appear to be the same. It seems like cost-wise, it's presumed at this point that they're going to cost health, though I'm not sure. I'm assuming it's not that. Couple reasons. For one thing, if we're looking at this 40 health, 50 health, that's nothing compared to how much they've got going on. MP, it also would be absolutely trivial for what they've got going on there, unless we've got like far more limited MP this time around or something, maybe. So I'm wondering if it's just a severe time cost. Because if they were either, I don't know, it's hard to say for sure. I feel like it has to be a time cost, because again, those numbers would basically be nothing for those effects based on the kinds of numbers they're running here. So I don't think it's that. For another thing, I'm wondering if buff items and debuff items got changed a little bit, because this is an interesting loadout that they've got their health, they got their MP, they've got their revive item, which, by the way, they have a Hallowing Stone. We'll cover more on this later, but it appears to be a... I'm assuming it's going to be an FFT-style system with some TO Classic stuff chucked in, because we see them with a Hallowing Stone. We know because it looks bigger than the Blessing Stone. But, again, assuming they're both in there, of course. But, two things. We know that there is an incapacitation and a death system. That was confirmed in one of the previous screenshots. Like, we don't know what the incapacitation system looks like whether they're just knocked out for the fight or whatever else. I don't believe we see anybody get KO'd in the trailer, but what we do know is that both of those systems are distinct and do appear. And we know that there's a Hallowing Stone over here, which in TO Classic, if you've never played it, if your character was carrying one and they died, they immediately came back to life. You got very, very, very few of them, though, so there's that too. Also, we know that crafting exists, and I apologize because this one's going to be unpacking a lot here. So we know that crafting exists, but we also know that there might be some different types of crafting this time around, because this level, or this gear progression, is very unusual. I'll get more into this later, but they are in Chapter 3 right now, still rocking a Volge. Now, a Volge +1, sure, that's actually a reasonable choice by then still, if it's still the Breach Spear. But they're at 25. That thing's like a level 7 or whatever in TO Remake. So I'm assuming that all of these weapons and armor will actually have a lot more balance to them. I feel like it's going to be more of a Knight of Lotus type of balance to all of it. Like where you have maybe some pieces of starter gear, but the rest of it is kind of, you know, interchangeable in terms of just what you want for your build. That is one thing that Remake was a little bit weird about, that it did have a lot of stuff that was just kind of stacked up there. So while you had the original weapons that were more of a kind of like classic progression system where generally they got better over time, then you had the crafted stuff that was more of a side grade kind of thing when compared to each other. But, you know, were straight upgrades over the vanilla ones with some attempts at downgrades that made no sense, like negative 1% luck. Like, what the hell is that? Anyway, so remains to be seen, but yeah, they're still running a Volge in Chapter 3 by the looks of it, so unusual there. And again, they have a Gremlin, which would have been impossible in the original by this point, since, you know, if they would presumably be a much higher level if they were here on their second run. Another thing, and hopefully this is showing in the center of the screen now, yes. So right here on these 3 icons on the bottom, I think these are passives. I think those are their current passive effects, for better or worse, and I feel like there's stances on here. Like, we see a buff over there in terms of their spellcraft. We see a little shield icon, or like a little person in a barrier icon. I think that's resistance, and then I think it's supposed to be dodge for that arrow. Because there is always either a shield or an arrow in that spot, and I wonder if Fortify and Dodge are exclusive now. Which, I don't know. Again, those might just be stances. I feel like there might be a few different stances they can take. One rumor that I have heard about a few times is that it's the FF4. It's assumed at this point to be the FF14 balance team that's helping with a lot of the numbers in this game. And supposedly they are very, very anal about keeping everything super balanced, sometimes to the detriment of fun, which to me sounds like, hey, sounds like a ripe time to break something. But, you know, we'll see how it goes. Additionally, I will say maybe I might be wrong on the augments from earlier. Because there's some cases where we've seen where characters will specifically switch to an element that they wouldn't otherwise have available to them, possibly. Like, we've seen some Terranites with dark elements, whereas Diebold is like ice or something. So I have a feeling that maybe maybe it's like a Knight of Lotus kind of thing, where in some cases you can use particular items to turn somebody towards a particular element. Because it looks like she's running Spirit Surge. I'm assuming this is Boon of Swiftness here for the 45, which, yeah, that needed a cost increase. Because it seems like Spirit Surge costs more than, presumably, this is your Wind Shot over here. So, yeah, that's the whole thing. By the way, minor detail, and I don't know how they're going to incorporate this, because I don't see it incorporated anywhere in the UI, which, to be fair, it wasn't in the PSP version either. And I've never seen this mechanic actively take place, but in the guide, like the official book there, it mentions that if you're standing on lava tiles, you boost your fire affinity, and if you're standing on, I think it was swamp tiles or something like that, you boost your water affinity. Like, it was something very oddly specific from, or no, I think it was like dust tiles, you boost lightning affinity. It was something ridiculously specific, which again, that's basically everything about the TO remake. But I'm wondering if we'll see that kind of take place anywhere. We don't know for sure. Take a closer look at these cards over here. Basically, this looks like the special icon, so it is also possible that you have to pick up these special cards to be able to activate your special abilities. Maybe it recharges them. Maybe they are actually on timers. We haven't seen any on timers as of yet, but it is always a possibility. So let's keep looking on here. Actually, one quick thing. What is this? Is that like a... I don't know what that is. Anyway. Alright, so let's look at their gear. And this is what I was saying earlier in terms of this gear being very unusual. Because again, they're running a Volge, a Boulder Helm, which you see a lot of characters are running Boulder Helms for some reason. Leather armor, which, again, leather +1, I would understand because it was a high dex thing, but you don't see any +1s mentioned on anything. Boulder gloves, and linen slops for some reason. Which, those must have gotten an upgrade then, because the slops are absolute trash in the original, and there's no reason to ever really keep using them. So maybe this just keeps them nimble, and then the Boulder still gives them a, you know, a spellcasting bonus. So, I'm not sure. Now, if we look at these two icons over here, you can see, like, this looks like it's stances. Like, it looks like there's two slots for something right here, and it looks like an evasion stance or a guarding stance, and I'm positive it's going to be something like that. So, we'll know for sure, obviously, once it lands, but, you know. For now, it's what we've got. All right. Next up, we have this right here. Now, this, I don't know if this is like a... If this is the same character that we just saw, which it seems to be. They're running the same gear. They seem to be the same level, right? Yeah, 25, 877. So this seems to be the same character. So would this be their augment, possibly? Like, that's the question. Is that their augment right there, that they get to pick one augment in place of one of their one of their spell slots? It makes sense to me, but I don't know for sure. This down here seems to be, well, presumably spellcraft that they've got right there. Presumably a recruit for this one, because it just shows two of them talking, but it only shows a person. But this is the human icon, so it is possible that you still have specific recruit skills. Now, again, this could just be for general use, but it feels like, you know, maybe there's more classes that have more stuff available. Like, one of the changes the One Vision mod made was to give Terror Knights Demon's Pact, which, you know, if the mod did that, that would make a lot of sense. Now, this looks like MP regeneration up, and this, I have no idea. Like, it just has, like, plus 24 of something. Maybe that means that their speed is up by 24 points or something? I don't know. It's very unclear what that could be. It's just kind of an arrow pointing up. I would assume it's some kind of speed thing. Maybe it improves missile abilities or something. You know, maybe you can specialize in different kinds of spells now. Could be something. I compared RT values. And if you add up all the equipment here, it does seem to be like RT is fairly similar to the original, so it is possible that maybe you run lighter gear in order to make sure that you're not an absolute, you know, slug monster, but who knows? Alrighty, so, just for comparison here, as far as how close the numbers are, so we do have movement types, by the way, so it does say Agile up here, so it looks like this one possibly might be movement up. Or that movement types in general got improved, because original movement for this Valkyrie, I just recreated them in the original here. Original movement for them is 4. This one's running 5. So with the Volge +1, Leather +1, Boulder +1, and it looks like a War Ring +1, because obviously there's 2 extra slots here, we wind up with an RT of 93, but if we look at the, let's see, Slops and Boulder, so the Slops would add 4, so that would bring it up to that 97, and then the Boulder gloves would add another 5. So it would end up being 102 if we recreated the same thing in the original. But then again, so yeah, it looks like they might have taken One Vision's lead on adding Swiftfoot to everybody for free. So, you know, that's something interesting there. Let's take a closer look at this kind of stuff. I just have no idea what this could be. Like, maybe it's Swiftfoot, but it's activated? Like, I'm trying to think what that could possibly be, you know? It's unclear. Alright, so, let's get on to it. So, I've seen a lot of discussion on, you know, you can equip 8 finisher slots, there was one theory that popped up yesterday that made the most sense of all of them. You have 2 potential hands, you have 2 potential weapons, you have 2 finisher sets. That's all there is to say on that. Now, one thing that we don't know is how weapon skills are going to work. Because you may notice here, no weapon skills. You have the 4 skills, the 4 spells, but no weapon skills. So it is possible that those are going to be tied to class, or maybe everyone can just use anything again, or maybe it's going to be a Vagrant Story kind of system where everybody has those finishers, but they only have access to the finishers that they currently are equipping. I hope it's that, because that would be amazing. If they took the Vagrant Story system, they put it with the flow and the improved changes of PSP Remake, and they maybe brought back some of the weird spell quirks of TO Classic. Like, that is just a wet dream right there. And anyway, moving on. So what else do we have here? So we do notice that there's some kind of ribbon system over here. I don't know what this could mean. That looks like a Charm of Remission, but I'm not sure. So maybe that's something. Honestly, I have no theories on that at the moment. But, you know, skills, finishers, class changes as it's always been, though he's looking way more crisp these days. Alright, let's move on to the next one then. Alright. So, one thing to note, when we got Diebold over here, he was previously like Earth or Ice Elements or something in a previous version of this screenshot. So it is possible that, you know, that's just like Terranites are dark now. Also, another thing that I just plain could not unsee when I saw it yesterday, why is this ferry so off-center? Yes, I know I'm the ferry run guy. I have to notice these things, but like I just saw this and like this... What happened? They're moving too fast to be contained in their own box. Icon still kind of... The selection icon just looks like shit. I wish it would be the finger. Why is the finger not here? But yeah, nothing really too new. We've already more or less gone over this. Anything really new to discuss here aside from the fact that they're on neutral and that's just crazy? No? Alright. I mean, we do see this defense icon here. Anyway, moving on. Which, by the way, the reason I don't think it's Fortify for this for their what I'm going to call stance icons for the time being, we do see something later on that kind of looks like Fortify. Anyway, anything new here? I don't believe so. It's actually funny that the statues are looking interesting. They actually look more like their March of the Black Queen originals. If you didn't know this, a lot of the statues, especially in Palace of the Dead, are specifically a North American version March of the Black Queen units, which is especially funny because that is the version that never got re-released anywhere, and is, in my opinion, the best version of that game, but, you know, whatever. Yeah, March of the Black Queen Limited Edition. Please, somebody, re-release it. I want it. Would like a legitimate version, please. Anyway, so what else? Anything new here? It looks like Land's got some gold trim on his armor, which is, that's snazzy. Which actually would be a nice touch. If you didn't know why his armor was gold in One Vision, it's again a reference to March of the Black Queen, where the paladin that he would be by the end of the game would be wearing gold armor. Or, if, you know, you were playing the better PS1 version, he would just have gold armor when you upgraded him. Anyway, let's see, do we see anything new in the Sistina fight? Not particularly. They still got the dragon over here, they still got the berserker down there. Barrel's looking slightly more red, I suppose. Yeah, her voice acting was pretty alright too, by the way. Wonder how she's gonna hold up in this new remade version. We'll see. Alright, anything new on the Rain Sadness scene? Yeah, probably not. So a lot of these were just kind of extras. I brought them up here just to see if there's anything we could potentially learn. Alrighty, so here we are. Alright, so this is a confusing thing. So I guess earlier the thing that we were looking at could have been a spear skill, which does make sense. This is probably the percentage thing, so these are 23% ranked up. Spears were probably like 24 whatever percent ranked up in the last one. Maybe it's just how many kills you got with a particular weapon or something. That system, if we're looking at it from a Vagrant Story perspective, would be... Actually, if they did this based on, like, you get a new finisher every 10 kills with a weapon, that actually would be pretty quick. Might be unreasonably quick, actually. Although, we'll get into this in a moment, but the finishers that we have seen used so far, their numbers are very low. So it is possible that, again, they're going to be utilized in a very One Vision-esque sort of sense, wherein they're used more for their utility rather than a big damage, you know, kind of burst move. So, for example, something like your first axe finisher on knights makes sense as a, like, you know, there's other knights here, their healing is annoying, I'm going to silence them real quick, and that makes a lot of sense. So if you ever wondered why knights have a high mind score, it's to make that finisher hit when using axes, presumably. But yeah, so something like that would make a lot of sense. I guess you can just specialize in weapons as an additional thing, like you just use a couple of your slots to boost weapon skills, which makes me wonder if they'll still work defensively. So throwing this out there because we have seen a lot of new people lately. If you didn't know, in TO Remake, if you equipped a weapon skill, it applied both offensively and defensively. So, like, let's say a guy had rank 4, you know, axes or something, and they attacked a guy with rank 2 axes, they actually would be effectively attacking them as if they had rank 2 axes. They would lose 2 of their attack and 6 of their accuracy during that attack. Or, sorry, they would lose 8 of their attack and 6 of their accuracy. I misspoke on that one. Just basically 2 ranks is what I'm getting at there. So hopefully that still applies defensively, especially if they make you dedicate 2 of your, you know, or anywhere from 1 to 2 of your specialized skill slots for that. So would hope so. And again, we're seeing that same theme here of just kind of running light equipment, but properly, you know, scaled up or properly leveled gear. Also, Boulder Bow's looking like it's got a lot more detail these days. Alright, what else can we potentially see here? This guy's apparently worried about being silenced. Yeah, I guess he's going for the full Vartan experience then. If he's got his wind shot, he's got all this other stuff. Huh. I mean, it would be cool to see more... It's funny because I say more viability in terms of hybrid builds. They always had viability, it just was more complicated to get there. I mean, all in all, it looks like the Vartan's magical attack still kind of sucks. So, you know, we'll see how they balanced all of that stuff. We'll see in time. We'll see in time. But I just love the look of this UI. I know there's been a lot said about the UI and everything else, and look, I love the pen and paper D&D aesthetic of TO Remake. I adore it, and in fact, they still seem to be using papyrus type stuff for the background here. But this looks crisp and happy to me, and I'm okay with this. It reminds me of Night of Lotus, alright? Like, just the vibrance of all of it reminds me of Night of Lotus, and that makes me very happy. Because, like I said, I spent an ungodly amount of time in that game as a kid. Alright, this was just probably telling people that there was no script changes. Whoopity-doo-dah. What else we got here? Anything new in this scene? Probably not. I know I'm skipping over a lot of these. Again, these were just the character scenes. I had them in there just for the hell of it. Saw what looked like some new lighting effects in this scene, but it always did look fairly pretty. It is funny that they specifically mention that they said, you know, Denim has a strong sense of justice, which, that's funny. It's like, it's more like they can be whatever you want them to be. And I was thinking specifically, like, the Florida Man run recently, of just, like, backstabbing and killing off every character up to this point, and this scene changes so much, where instead of just like, oh, let's run away and be happy, instead she just shows up like, you know what? Fuck them. This is about survival. We made it. You owed them nothing. It's just so cold. I love it. Anyway, moving on here. Like, just if you didn't know, there's all these like little hidden scenes through everything, depending on just whether or not you do extremely stupid stuff to make it happen. I mean, again, TO Remake had absolutely no reason to include what's known as the shotgun side quest. If you're unfamiliar, at the end of Chapter 4, if Kashua makes it through everything up to that point, but then specifically on the road back, she just randomly dies, there's a side quest that opens up of some people showing up and attacking a village, and you go deal with it. If you want to. Which, A, it's just a hidden thing that shows up in the Warren report, and B, just the fact that its only purpose in the original was to give you an extra shotgun, because there were only like 4 something guns in the game, and one of them was available through this shotgun side quest. And so yeah, for some reason they remade it in the original, even though you could get plenty of them by that point. Anywho, so yeah, his music box is still a little bit not to scale, which, yeah, I mean, I don't know what you'd really do with that. That's fine. We Fight to Live, I think that's a new line. So I could be mistaken on this, but I think that is actually a new line. Because I remember him not really having any particularly aggressive lines for a while, though admittedly I do usually skip over this cutscene. Also, to the weebs that were scared of it, don't worry, it looks like Ravnus made the cut. So we have confirmation of the DLC characters. We know that Azelston is in here. We'll see more of him later. But yeah, moving on to the next one. Alright, so next up we see pincer attacks. So this seems to be like they've more or less brought over the kind of follow-up mechanic from Funny Shapes game. Now, I will say, for the inevitable people that will show up in defense of that thing, basically saying like, oh look, they created this revolutionary mechanic. Tactics Ogre SNES had this, kind of. I used to call it the spear gangbang, but basically the deal is, in every one of these games, there was a tactic that most players would do, wherein you would have one character with a spear and another character with a spear on either side of a unit. You would attack them, and in most cases, because you have that character facing them, they would dodge the spear while stabbing the dude in front of them. Then they would counterattack. While your character blocked on the other side, they would stab this dude in the back again. So basically you were getting 2 spear attacks off for the price of 1. Now this was especially effective as time went on, because in the original SNES version it was mostly a case of overwhelming with DPS that you'd want to do that. It was a bit more desperate, and quite frankly most of your melee characters should have been running spears anyway, because, well, melee classes were like absolute bottom tier in that game for the most part. With some exceptions. It basically came down to who could kill first, more or less. If you could kill without getting the counterattack, then it was worth doing. Now, when Knight of Lotus came around, it had halved damage on the second tile, basically really heavily incentivizing doing this particular strategy. It's like using 4 units and just spear gangbanging heavy units was the easiest way to get a lot of stuff done. You can be very, very effective with your movements that way. It was just super efficient. And then when Tactics Ogre Remake came about, because spear skills applied defensively, this also meant that, you know, it was a very effective strategy because they would essentially have extra armor against that particular weapon. But anyways, it looks like they have expanded that to other weapons now, so we do have a follow-up mechanic, so that's pretty neato in this pincer maneuver, which looks super out of place. Again, I'm assuming this will all get cleaned up by the time of release, because that, like, pincer looks like it's supposed to be a Ridge Racer kind of deal. Anyway, moving on here. What else we got? Anything new in this one? Probably not. This is one of those earlier ones again. Let's take a look at this spy icon again. Yeah, nothing really terribly new here. At least not that we haven't discussed this time around. This seems like the starting party still. So, neat. Actually, where's Voltaire? I mean, presumably that's Sarah and Voltaire over there, in which case, yeah, I guess they changed elements. I don't know. Okay, so now we get to the meat of today, and that was Mr. Mitsuno's postings here. For anyone looking at this who, for whatever reason, was unfamiliar, Mitsuno's the writer, director guy for most of the series. Again, it seems like anytime that Knight of Lotus or OB64 comes up, they seem to get a bit upset. But at any rate, yeah, dude's the director, so yeah. They're more or less like the dad of the series, so to speak. So, few things to confirm on this one. As Gibbed was pointing out, these left and right button mouse icons look kind of ugly as sin, not sure what's going on with that. But we can confirm square menu, for having 5 pages this time around. So that's pretty neat. Also, continuing on with the seemingly having Swiftfoot already built in. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier, where it seems like the guy's got Fortify down here. Looks like Fortify 4 or something, right? So we see what looks like Fortify 4, possibly like a regeneration or something ability right here, as well as his double attack, as well as his you know, sword things right here. The highest I've ever seen these, though, is 40, which is what makes me think that it's, you know, got 40 levels to it now instead of 8. I don't know, but when they've got Fortify, look at this. Up here, they've got a tier 2 of this little shield thing. What does that mean? I don't know. Anyway, it does look like we can confirm that attack and defense are still a thing. We can confirm that Snapdragons, because he's got the cursed 1 HK over here, as well as I think that's the Masamune over there, and some Shadow Tramplers. Again, still rocking that Balder Helm. They really like that Balder Helm for some reason. But yeah, so cursed weapons seem to work as they did before, although in a far different way. The bonuses are higher. The attack bonus is lower. Health bonus seems to be higher. Stat bonuses seem to be way lower. And additionally, wait time. This is definitely not a zero. If he's over here trying to challenge run, solo run, whatever, his own game here, friggin' a cursed weapon that actually weighs something is simply unacceptable. But yeah, I have a feeling that they probably did like properly weight balance it this time. Again, supposedly there's a really good balance team behind it this time. So here's hoping. Here's hoping. We can confirm that instill stun and instill silence. Yes, I know that it's supposed to be Benome and Bridle, but we're gonna call it what it is. Which basically means that earlier was an instill wind, actually, not an augment. So it seems like instill is this little triangle icon. Yeah, I guess plus means bonus to attack of some kind, because double attack as well as this weapon rank thing. He's got max 1 HKs, by the way. That's how we know that for sure. It's changed colors, so I'm assuming that's the maximum there. And then he's got his 4 finishers. Seems like they've stuck with the same finishers. Now, one thing that is kind of strange, so let's look at his item stock over here. He's got Haunt's Tome for some reason. I guess he's gonna go make something less resistant to magic, which I guess makes sense with his like ninja SMG over here. One thing that's kind of funky though, he's running around with what looks like a Palace of the Dead shortcut for some reason. So I'm not sure if these are reusable items or something like that. Like you limit yourself to 4 items, but you can only, like let's say you have a higher stock of them, maybe. I don't know. That's unclear. So not a whole lot else that we can see here as far as I can tell. We can confirm Azelston. He's just kind of hanging out down here. Apparently he's liking more of a law approach here, as we can see. Although, actually, no, I think he's gotten pretty much everybody, because we've got Divold over here representing neutral. We've got law for Union and Ravenous and Ozma. So we can't confirm Ozma made the trip as well. And we've got Vice over here, too. Yeah, I don't know. Definitely can confirm health over 1,000 and 50. Level 50. Gibbed was pointing this out earlier, but we can confirm that everybody can shut up about the maximum level 25 thing. It is 50. As it's always been. So, it is what it is. Let's see stats-wise. It's a very high-vit ninja. That, like, I'm assuming Fortify just boosts Vit these days. That actually would make a lot of sense. It would simplify the system, probably. But anyway, moving on. So he was showing off this. Apparently, apparently the name of his sword is a reference to something called Chainsaw Man. I guess it's some big deal over in Japan right now. I have no idea what the hell that is. But, you know, if you know, more power to you. Also, looking at these backgrounds a bit more, it looks like these are like more or less like a random amalgamation of pieces of whatever map you're on that are just filling out the background. So time will tell how that actually ends up looking. We don't have a whole lot of action to go by there, but that seems to be what that is. Additionally, I don't know if this is Paralytic Wave or something that he's got on here. Not sure. But either way, one of the changes that this guy made since using the sword boosted his health by almost 250. Actually, 350, so I don't know, he did something. I mean, he seems to still have that same shield icon. I mean, the sword would make up for 130 of it, but I guess this is Constitution boost, maybe? Maybe it's just percentage scaling, which it always was percentage scaling, but I'm not sure. Alright, so, next up, the more that we see, the more we don't see. For one thing, we see that step counters do have a secondary thing. More than likely, this is just to fill in the 32 that you get for the maximum. In most cases, it doesn't really go past like 8 or so, but that's kind of whatever. But we also still do not see lives anywhere. So if we go through everything here, we have not seen lives anywhere on any part of this whole thing. However, in the trailer, we did see that there is incapacitations, and we did see... let's go back to this one. We saw incaps, and we saw character deaths. So I'm assuming this is going to be an FFT-style system where you still get the knockout, because there are several scripted events in this game that use the knockout mechanic. So I'm assuming you'll get knockouts, and then you can carry one revive-type item with you. Maybe you use it yourself if you die while carrying it, and then maybe you can use it on somebody else if they get knocked down. I mean, it would be a nice, elegant way to do it. But, again, we don't quite know yet, but that's kind of the speculation so far. Also, courtesy of Mitsuno's thing over here, apparently we've got confirmation now that the character limit is 32, up from the previous 12. So, I believe that should be just about everything that we can confirm so far. Hopefully we'll be getting more news as time goes on. I mean, I know personally, I have not paid this much attention to my friggin' Switch in months. But yeah, now I just keep going and looking at it, maybe going through some XCOM 2, maybe going through some Fell Seal. Just, you know, just getting ready for November. I'm excited, man. I'm freaking excited for this whole thing. It looks like they did a great job so far. I mean, it's, as far as anybody can tell, it does seem to be a mix of everything people liked from the series. The cool, you know, upgrades to skills and stuff from the TOPSP remake. You get some of the more weird mechanics from TO Classic. Some of the it seems like we're potentially getting a lot of the vibrance and general fun of Night of Lotus. That intro, that friggin' intro. Like, I know I kept saying it gave me Wind Waker vibes, but then immediately I kept thinking, like, this is the same art style they use for Night of Lotus. So I don't know. Maybe finally there's, you know, more official acceptance for that kind of thing. I would love to see more tie-togethers of all those things. Additionally, with this item system that we know about now, I saw it mentioned as a completely new thing that the series hasn't done before. It's not true. It has been done once before, and that was for Ogre Battle 64. It worked all right. It did essentially mean that there were some items you carried around because they were completely busted, which... yeah, you could do some pretty fun stuff with that. Like, you gave somebody a stallion, and you gave somebody, what was it? I think it was like a statue, a stallion, I think it was like a scroll of initiation or something. And then you basically could have somebody that never got tired and just zoomed them out around the map on rocket skates. It's just good, man. It's just good. So, I'm hoping there's more of that. It seems more or less confirmed that we'll probably have... Come to think of it, okay. I was thinking we were going to have permanent boot effects, which does make sense. But I was just thinking that, like, what if the second icon is your kind of like more specialized movement type? Like, maybe agile type units have whatever this is, where they can potentially, like, resist magic better or something, and then you can switch for a physical resistance or, like, a dodge thing. Because one icons could potentially lead to that here. Like, I mean, looking at it here, this guy is Vit, and his and he's got high fortify as well as high resistance, so maybe this just tells you what kind of defense somebody has. Like, I think we actually can potentially compare this with the Valkyrie from before. Is she the one that had the dodge stance kind of looking thing? Yeah, let's see. She's got high intelligence. Is her avoidance higher than her Vit or res? No, so it's not that. Okay, for a second there I thought maybe Maybe that would be it. Like, if your dodge was higher than your res, you just got that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know, but we can confirm that, yes, this does appear to be weapon skills. If they're halfway through the game, and they've got 2 of their 4 unlocked, then this does mean that there would effectively be 40 weapon ranks. Maybe that ends up ranking and scaling up a lot more noticeably over time, in which case that would be really nice, because that would essentially mean that you could get to Chapter 4 and have maxed out weapons. So basically 1 vision scaling, which would be pretty darn nice. But okay, alright. So, let me know what other speculations you've got. I will update as soon as I have anything more to report on. And yeah, you guys have an awesome one. I mean, I couldn't be more excited. I couldn't be more excited. And also, a bit of a side note, I'm glad they kept the sleepy mom look for the Valkyries there. That always kind of cracked me up. Because just like, that look on the Valk's face is always just like, Timmy, what the hell did I tell you? Just go put the candy back on the shelf. We're not dealing with this shit right now. Mom got 3 hours of sleep. Get back over there and put the dang thing back. But either way, alright. You guys have a good one. Take care. I'll see you soon.